What if I told you for about the price of a brand new Cessna 172, you can own an actual military strike aircraft? Not a replica, not a museum piece, a genuine Cold War combat jet. Now, before you start emptying your retirement account, there's a catch. The operating cost will make your accountant cry. But if you're looking for pure aviation character, few aircraft can match the BAC 167 Strikemaster. Because this wasn't supposed to be a warplane. It began life as a friendly little trainer designed to teach young pilots how to fly. Then somebody looked at it and asked a very dangerous question. What if we arm it? And that's where this story gets interesting. Most stories have another side. This one's just a little stranger. I'm Bill, and this is Buffalo Air Park. Let's dive in. The BAC 167 Strikemaster may be one of the greatest aviation grow-ups ever attempted. Its family tree traces back to the 1950s, and a modest British trainer called the Jet Provost. Nothing particularly threatening about it. It was a straightforward aircraft built to teach student pilots the fundamentals. Eventually, the British replaced the propeller with a jet engine and created the Jet Provost. Again, still a trainer. Still harmless. Still doing exactly what it was designed to do. But during the Cold War, military planners around the world faced a common problem. Not every country could afford sophisticated fighter aircraft. Many nations needed something cheaper, simpler, and rugged enough to operate from remote airfields. British Aircraft Corporation saw an opportunity. Their solution was remarkably simple. Take the Jet Provost and turn it into a light attack aircraft. To make that happen, BAC strengthened the airframe, reinforced the landing gear, upgraded the engine, and added weapons capability. The result was the Strikemaster. Suddenly, this former trainer could carry machine guns, rockets, bombs, and even napalm. Not bad for an airplane that started its career teaching students how not to bounce a landing. The aircraft retained one of its most unusual features, side-by-side seating. Unlike most military jets, pilot and instructor, or pilot and passenger, sat shoulder to shoulder, which means you could theoretically discuss your weekend plans while conducting a rocket attack. It's a very British solution to aerial warfare. The Strikemaster proved surprisingly popular on the export market. Countries including Saudi Arabia, Oman, Ecuador, Kenya, Singapore, and New Zealand purchased the aircraft. And it was in New Zealand that the airplane earned one of aviation's greatest nicknames, the Blunty. One look at the aircraft's rounded nose, and the nickname makes perfect sense. The Royal New Zealand Air Force operated 16 Strikemasters beginning in the early 1970s. Their pilots loved the airplane and quickly discovered it was far more capable than its humble origins suggested. Perhaps a little too comfortable. New Zealand's terrain encouraged aggressive low-level flying through valleys and mountainous terrain. Day after day, pilots pushed the aircraft hard. Eventually, the airframes began pushing back. Inspections revealed fatigue cracking in the wing structure. By the mid-1980s, cracks had appeared throughout much of the fleet. Repairing every aircraft would have been very expensive, so restrictions were imposed and the aircraft eventually retired from service in 1992. It was a reminder that while the Strikemaster had evolved into a tough attack aircraft, it was still asking a trainer airframe to do fighter pilot things. Yet the confidence BAC had in the aircraft was remarkable. Towards the end of production, the company began building aircraft before customers even placed orders. Think about that for a moment. Most manufacturers wait for a contract. BAC essentially said, "Trust us, somebody will buy these." They built several aircraft at their own expense and hoped future customers would appear. It's either extraordinary confidence or extraordinary optimism. Maybe a little of both. But if there was ever one event that cemented the Strikemaster's reputation forever, it happened in Oman. On July 19, 1972, during the Dhofar War, a small force of SAS soldiers and local defenders occupied the coastal town of Mirbat. Just after dawn, hundreds of communist-backed guerrillas launched a surprise assault. The defenders were heavily outnumbered. The battle quickly became desperate. One of the most famous moments involved a Fijian SAS sergeant, who manned a massive artillery piece that normally required an entire crew. Under intense fire, he operated the weapon almost single-handedly, helping hold the attackers at bay. But the defenders couldn't hold forever. They needed help. Fast. That's when the Strikemasters arrived. The weather was poor, with a low cloud ceiling forcing pilots to descend beneath the clouds and navigate difficult terrain at extremely low altitude. The aircraft roared into the battle and immediately began attacking guerrilla positions with rockets, machine gun fire, and bombs. The effect was devastating. Attack runs shattered enemy formations and relieved pressure on the defenders below. The aircraft kept coming back, again and again and again. One fascinating detail often overlooked is that Omar's Strikemasters were specifically modified for their mission. Because they would spend nearly all of their time flying at low altitude, BAC removed the cockpit pressurization system and used the weight savings to install additional armor protection around the cockpit. And they needed every bit of it. Throughout the conflict, much of the fleet suffered battle damage from ground fire, yet they kept flying. Their actions during the Battle of Mirbat helped save the defenders and are widely considered one of the turning points of the entire Dhofar campaign. Not bad for an aircraft that started life as a trainer. Today, the Strikemaster enjoys a second career among civilian owners and collectors. Compared to many military jets, it remains relatively attainable. Purchase prices often fall into a range that surprises people. Operating costs, however, are another matter entirely. Fuel disappears at an alarming rate. Replacement parts are becoming increasingly scarce, and every hour in the air comes with a price tag that reminds you this was once a military aircraft. Still, enthusiasts continue to preserve them because the Strikemaster occupies a unique place in aviation history. It wasn't the fastest jet of the Cold War. It wasn't the most advanced. It wasn't even designed to be a combat aircraft. Yet, it repeatedly proved that determination, simplicity, and good design can sometimes accomplish far more than anyone expected. A friendly little trainer that grew armor, carried bombs, and earned a place in history. The ultimate underdog. And that wraps up another tale from aviation's stranger side. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies.